haven't put the title on TikTok. How did it just go like, oh. Okay, all right. Well, we're live on TikTok, we're live on YouTube. Hi, guys. Hello. How are you doing? What time is it? After 6. It's been like a hot minute since my last live stream, so my apologies. It just happened. But the mailbag has been so full, so many questions. It's like I've been missing in action. If you're joining live on TikTok, hello, good to see you. Thank you so much for joining. And if you're joining on YouTube, thank you so much. And as you pop in, please give this video a like. It is so much appreciated. Thank you so very much. Don't forget to like the video. We are talking about women's health Q&As, and we're just going to go through our usual viewers' comments and questions. So I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think. I'm just going to dive into the questions because there are so many. So live goal on TikTok. Oh, I don't know if I'm going to be able to achieve any live goals, but you know what? Let's just leave this for today before I. Okay, fine. All right, fine. Okay, right. Let's begin. So, how are you guys doing? Where is my list? How have you guys been doing? I hope you've had a good day. I have had a busy day, but it's been good. It's been good and busy. Okay, let's not waste too much time. Please give this video a like as you pop in. That'll be much appreciated if you're watching on YouTube or on TikTok. Let me just have a look. Okay, what's happening here? Right, so first question is around uterine fibroid embolization. So the question is from Shari, who says, please guide me. Is pregnancy possible after uterine fibroid embolization? Because I had the procedure 1 year ago, and now my periods are only spotting. I'm 37. Can I get pregnant naturally or with IVF? Please tell me. That is a great question. Thank you so much, Shari, for that question. Hi to everybody joining in. Thank you so much for popping into the stream. It's not going to be a long one, I promise. I have 3 or 4 questions to go through from that. I've just randomly picked from the mailbag. So we're just going to tackle them. Honestly, TikTok is distracting me. Hi to everyone joining. Hi, Tracy. Hi, Arias. Hi. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a like, okay? Right, so first question, right, sensitive, a little bit complex, but really important for you to be working closely with your fertility specialists, you know, over issues like this. I would hope that when you first had the conversation around having uterine I moved the screen. Okay. When you first had the conversation around this fibroid treatment, you'd have had a discussion around your fertility expectations or your pregnancy expectations, family plans for your future family. So hopefully that kind of conversation was had. UFE, uterine fibroid embolization, I've got a couple of videos on the channel. So this is an alternative to surgery procedure where an inert material is injected through one of the veins in your thigh into the blood vessel that goes to supply or that blocks the blood supply of the fibroid. So essentially, they access one of the blood vessels in your thigh, and that blood vessel eventually will get from your pelvic area into the fibroid. So it will be done under an ultrasound scan by someone who is specialist in carrying out that kind of procedure. And what they're trying to do is close off that blood supply to the fibroid and by so means kill the fibroid. So over time, that material that's inert is not going to cause any harm to your tissues, but over time it blocks the blood supply to the fibroid and the fibroid shrinks. So that's essentially what UFE does. It's not a brand new procedure. It's been around for some time, and it's for women who can't have or don't wish to have surgery to manage their fibroids, who can't have or don't want to use medication and so on. It's an alternative. And of course, as you can imagine, it has some benefits in that you will not have the effect of having to stay in hospital for a long period of time to recover after a surgery like a myomectomy and so on. So it is an option. The main value for the UFE really is to manage symptoms. So for somebody who's experienced very heavy bleeding with the fibroids, that's a really helpful useful option if you don't want to have surgery and you don't want to use the other methods. But it's important to have a conversation, and it all varies from one woman to another, whether what the potential impact could have on having a child after the procedure. Guys, thank you so much for joining. I can see that we have 16 people watching, but there's just one like. I would really appreciate if you just take a minute just to give the video a like, especially on YouTube. Thanks to my guys on TikTok, and thanks for showing your support and for liking. That's really appreciated. Okay, so that's the main thing. And it looks like your procedure has given some benefits. So it has helped because you said you're no longer, you said you're only spotting at the moment. I don't know how heavy your bleeding was before this. So it's good that you've had that experience. The bleeding has most likely reduced from a significant amount to you're just spotting. So that's good. But of course, the next question is about getting pregnant. And so what you want to know is it possible to have to get pregnant after having a uterine fibroid embolization? Yes, it is. There is documented literature. We have evidence that there are women who have gone on to become pregnant after having the UFE. I'll call it UFE just to save the long uterine fibroid embolization. So many women do go on to have pregnancies afterwards. I have a couple. I'm getting some interesting comments on YouTube. Some of them I'm just going to ignore because it's just not worth the conversation. Somebody is saying that they're from India. Praise the Lord, they're from India. It says you must be yourself. I don't know what that means. And you're asking where I'm from. Okay, that's part of the conversation. And you're complimenting my glasses. Thank you. Going back to the discussion, I do appreciate the conversation. But going back to the discussion, right? So you can imagine that blocking the blood flow to parts of the womb, because essentially, if you remember, fibroids are parts of the womb, could affect how a baby can grow in that womb subsequently. So that's why it's an individual approach. And while I've said that many women do successfully become pregnant following UFE, some do not. And for different reasons. It might be to do with how the treatment affected the womb, perhaps the number of fibroids they had to deal with in the first instance, what effect the treatment had on the womb subsequently. It might have other things that are not related even to fibroids. I mean, this person who put in the question says that they're 37, so you have to think about ovarian reserve and the quality of eggs at this stage. So, I think it's really important that you're having a very good discussion, very detailed conversation with your fertility specialist. And this is probably something that we will consider a high-risk pregnancy. So right from the onset, from preconception, really, you should be under the care of a fertility specialist, because having a conversation, assessing the womb even before you begin to get pregnant, these are the things that can determine whether you're going to go ahead to get pregnant naturally or whether IVF is necessary. And I think most of the time, especially if you haven't yet started your family and you're thinking about fibroid treatment options, then it's really important that you are hand in hand with that conversation around discussing your treatment with your doctor. It's not just treatment to manage the symptoms, stop the bleeding, or stop the other symptoms. You also want to think about, what are my chances of pregnancy. Somebody's saying, hi, Sohail, are you a doctor? I am a doctor. I'm a GP and women's health specialist. And Florence says, going through the same situation, the fibroids felt so badly and no child yet. I'm just saying that this is a good conversation to have with a fertility specialist, because we hear fibroids and we naturally think, fibroids means no pregnancy. That's not the case. There are many other reasons that can be responsible for infertility that can exist with the fibroid, and the fibroid may have nothing to do with your fertility. So that's something that we really need to get across to people and get very clearly across to people. Please give this video a like. Let me say hi to guys on TikTok. This is going so quickly. Hi to everybody who's joining on TikTok. There's Lady Glory, there is Mala, there's Richmond, there's Our Queen, there's Christoph, there is Oganiru Dave, there's Halmatu, Aniwa Bebe. Hi, thank you so much for joining. So whether it's natural conception or whether you have to go through IVF is a discussion that you need to have with your fertility specialist. And it can depend on a few things. Like I've said, it can have something to do with what is the situation, what is the status of or the health of your womb after that procedure. Okay, so they can look at the size and the health of your womb, and of course they can look at something like your look at your ovarian reserve. Like I said, age of 37, it's good to have that knowledge, whether they're going to do your blood test for your FSH or check your AMH to look at the quality of eggs that you're producing. And then something else I should mention as well is that some studies have suggested that UFE can affect ovarian function. We're not sure exactly how it could happen, but some women have reported that there could be a decline in the activity or the function of the ovaries after uterine fibroid embolization. So thank you so much, Shari, for that question. You wanted to know whether you can still, if pregnancy is possible after UFE. Yes, it is possible. You need individual care, specific care or specialist care with a doctor who knows your medical background. Go and see a reproductive endocrinologist. Go and see a fertility specialist. And so that's a gynecologist, not a general obstetrician and gynecology, but someone who is actually, whose specialty or subspecialty is in reproductive care, in infertility, so that they know your entire medical history. You're coming from the background of fibroids, you're coming from a situation where, I don't know if you've had children before, but they have this background and they can guide you about the different options, whether it's natural, they can go through that journey with you, or whether it's an IVF situation or IVF that you need to have. Your pregnancy and your desire to have a child, these are still very possible. You're still very, very young, my darling. So please don't give up on yourself. So Hel, it's good to meet you as well. Thank you so much for joining the live. I hope you've given it a like as well. That would be so encouraging. So thank you for that question, Shari. Let's go on to the very next one, which is in response to a video I did on C-section, I think. And so Chidebere says, I love this video more because you have explained the science. Thank you so much. I'm glad you found the video helpful. And then she says, can an ultrasound or pelvic scan show how well the inner wound is healing? That's really interesting. So thank you so much for liking the video. So the ultrasound can give us some signs that healing is or is not going through. Okay, it can, but it won't. It doesn't show you the cell, activity, if I can use that term, if that makes sense. It doesn't break down, and you don't see cells going together or moving together that signifies healing. But you can certainly see changes that indicate something is going on. So we usually can use an ultrasound to see, for example, that there's fluid collection. So if there's bleeding, or if there's an abscess in tissues, an ultrasound can give us a good view of that. It can help us see if there's an area that's swollen, like a cyst, or, it can tell us, there's something different in this particular area compared to the surrounding area. We can even use ultrasound to look at blood vessels and see how blood is flowing in those areas. And then you can tell from, the appearance of the tissue different to the surrounding areas. You can tell from an ultrasound what is going on. You can tell whether the size and the shape of the tissue is coming back to normal. So there are different things that we can use an ultrasound to do, but it won't show. We can't see through the ultrasound whether there is new protein or collagen or, all those tissue bits falling into place. That is not going to show you that. So it's not going to give you a measure of how the internal tissue is healing. But there are different clues that we can tell from the way the healing tissue appears compared to the tissue around it, that can indicate, yes, it's healing, or no, it's not healing, or there's a collection of blood, or maybe an infection collection somewhere that's not normal. You can definitely get those clues from the ultrasound. So I think, to specifically answer your question, can an ultrasound or pelvic scan show how well an inner wound is healing? So this is not just the wound on the skin. She's talking about the wound on the womb itself. So the ultrasound can't tell you exactly how the tissues are being knit together. But of course, we can see things like I've just mentioned, bleeding or blood collection or abscesses, for example. You can actually identify things like that. So let me just look at a couple of questions that have popped up on the screen from YouTube and say hi to guys that are just joining. So somebody says, Akko Chakraborty. I hope I've got that correctly, and please forgive me if I haven't. But thank you so much for joining and watching. Please give this video a like. And you're talking about beta HCG 29,000 at 6 weeks with 2 small fibroids. Diabetic, blood sugar is controlled at 97 to 110. This is the second pregnancy. Your first was a miscarriage. Oh, thank you for sharing that. So this is quite a special time for you. Miscarriages are very, very common actually, and usually, miscarriages, we don't always know what causes them. In fact, the most common cause of the miscarriage is that we don't know. We tend to say that it's often as a result of, perhaps genetic changes or things that didn't just go right in the baby, and so nature just took care of things by itself. Nothing that you could ever have done about it. And then subsequent pregnancies go very well, go very smoothly, and completely unrelated to the first, and that's the case in the majority. So I'm sure that yours is going to go very well. Listen to your medical team, listen to your doctor, rest as much as you can. If you can, get about, do some exercise, minimize stress, take your prenatal medicines and vitamins. Do everything, get yourself prepared for baby. And I wish you well. Please come back and tell me after 6 weeks now. So in about 8 months plus or thereabouts, I'm expecting to hear from you. I'm expecting to say, yay, my baby is here. So I wish you all the very best. But thank you so much for checking on the video, and please give it a like and let me know if there's anything else you wanted to ask about. And then Bavina says, I'm having pimple on the inside vagina, which is painless. Oh, that's interesting. I have a question on a lump in the vagina in a couple of minutes. So if you want to hang around, and then we can chat about this. So thank you so much for those questions. Please don't forget to give it a like. Hi, guys on TikTok. Hey, TikTok is just flowing so quickly. So there's Vanessa joined. Hi, Vanessa. There's Shane. There's Kurt. I got a fresh goal. Ooh, right. What does that mean? Let me just view this first. Guys, just give me a second. Flash goal. Okay. Interesting. Okay, let's start that one and see how that works. Okay, so thank you so much, guys, watching on TikTok. Hi, Kamzi. Hi, Joy Abudu. Oh, Akko, you're so very welcome. You're very much welcome. And I'm rooting for you, and I'm sure you're going to be fine. Okay, so we've done 2 questions. The next is an interesting question, and I'm sure it's one that we're always asking ourselves, but you don't remember to ask anybody else, and you just wonder. But I love this question. It says, hello, is it normal to urinate more often while on my period? Keep in mind that my period isn't mixing with my urine, okay? And I only seem to need to urinate more while on my period. Also, I have no other symptoms of a UTI. Thank you for saying that. And thank you for this question, because once we've removed the UTI, we can sort of focus and think what can be going on. So really important, you can have a UTI at any time. And a UTI, a urinary tract infection, if you don't know. Common symptoms like pain passing urine, smelly urine, pain in the lower tummy or your pelvis. And so pain passing urine could be a burning sensation or stinging sensation that people can describe. You might have back pain, you might have a temperature, you might feel feverish or sweaty, urinary tract infection, okay? But she has told us that she's not having any of those. She's only having one symptom, which is going to wee more often than usual, which is also a UTI symptom. Sorry, I'm being distracted by TikTok. Something just flashed on the screen. I don't even know what that meant. Okay, we'll be fine. Anyway, so she's having what we call frequent urination, which of course is also another sign of a UTI, going to urinate frequently. Some people might even go and urinate frequently and very, very tiny amounts. But let's not get distracted. This is not a UTI situation from what we're being told. So, it's very common, is the simple answer to that. Is absolutely common. And there are a couple of different reasons. One of them is, of course, when you're on your period, what is happening is that menstrual blood or menstrual products actually is from the effect of your hormones, estrogen and progesterone during the cycle. The womb was being prepared for the possible pregnancy. So the womb was getting thicker, the blood vessels were increasing, but pregnancy didn't happen. And so you have a period, and that's the period itself is all the components of the womb and the blood vessels and all that were trying to get ready for a pregnancy that didn't happen. So now the womb is trying to evacuate all this material from itself, and so it is cramping. So there's a lot of cramping going on. And so what will happen is that while the womb, remember that the position of these organs are so close to each other. You have the bladder in front of the womb, and then the rectum and the anus behind the womb. So while the womb is busy sort of contracting as it's getting rid of this material, of course, that can relate or refer to the bladder. And so the bladder itself might just be a bit irritated because of this movement and muscular activity going on behind it. So that's one reason, simple science behind it. But then, of course, the other thing is the hormones themselves, progesterone and estrogen. You're at that stage during your cycle when their levels are quite low. Now, progesterone itself is the hormone that contributes to making you feel bloated, and so during the days just before your period, you are accumulating fluid thanks to progesterone. Now that the progesterone levels are dropping, your body is now just going to release all the excess fluid, and part of that is through urine. So you are going to lose a lot of fluid, and that extra fluid is going to come out in the urine. So I'm not worried. Please don't be worried. It is a perfectly normal and easily explainable aspect of being on your period. And unless it's accompanied by other things, and you've clearly said it's nothing, you don't think it's a UTI, which is fine. But for anyone who doesn't know what UTI symptoms, I've already mentioned them just now. So if you're experiencing not just passing urine frequently, but you have other symptoms as well going on, like pain, a fever, feeling unwell, and smelly urine or dark colored urine, sometimes you may not be on your period and you have you're passing urine and you notice blood in the urine, that might be a sign of a UTI. Different things like that. If you notice anything that seems out of the ordinary, please talk to your doctor about it. So thank you so much for that really amazing question. Very, very useful. I think we've done 3 now, haven't we? We've looked at uterine fibroid embolization, where we ended with telling Shari to contact a fertility specialist or a reproductive endocrinologist. And we explained what a UFE does. She was worried about whether she can still get pregnant, and we said absolutely, but it needs to be under the care of a specialist. She needs to have a conversation with the specialist. Natural pregnancy is possible, IVF is possible, but please be under the care of a specialist, so that don't panic unnecessarily. Don't feel that it's impossible for you. It's certainly very possible. Have a conversation with your specialist. Then we talked about after a C-section, can an ultrasound scan see the inner healing on the womb? And I said, well, you can't directly see the healing, but you can probably see different changes that indicate that healing is going on with the ultrasound scan. So, and that was Chidiebere's question, which was really insightful. So thank you so much for those questions. And we've just covered this one with asking about urine and whether it's normal to pass urine more often when you're on your period, and we've just answered yes to that. So Bavina says, is there any serious problem with the lumps? So Bavina, my last question is going to be around vaginal lumps, so we can look at what you want to understand from that. And Tumelo Malete says, hi darling, where are you watching from? What are you up to tonight? And I hope you're finding this video useful. Please don't forget to give it a like, and thank you so much everybody who has done that already. If you've forgotten, please give it a like right now. On TikTok, Eric Star joined, Timitope joined, hi, and Jamathan joined. Let me just click something here. I don't know what it's going to do. Oh, okay. No, it's not. I don't want to do a co-host because you don't know if anybody else is talking about women's health. I can't just drag them into this. Okay, fine. I don't want to. Thank you. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let's go on. So, this other question I have, this literally has just come into the channel. So thank you for sharing this question. You said, thank you for your videos. You're very much welcome, my darling. You said you have what happens to be pimples on your labia. They are in clusters. Is there medication over the counter I can take for that? Anything I can do myself? Or is this the case when I need to see a practitioner? Thank you for that amazing question. I love the question. And I, thank you for trusting me to sort of look at what might be going on. And I didn't give a disclaimer at the beginning, did I? I'm so sorry. There's a disclaimer on the channel, but I usually give a disclaimer to say, I'm not your medical practitioner. We only provide medical information here, not health advice. Everyone needs to go back and see their own medical practitioner, because they can get more information from you. They can run tests, do scans, do a proper examination, and then give you the most appropriate treatment. All of this I am not able to do on YouTube, but we can have a conversation. We can say, oh, well, this is what might be happening. We can say, this is what you should ask your doctor, so you can gain more information and more value from your consultation. This is exactly what I would expect my patients to do when they come and see me at yourgpconsultation.com, which is my online GP platform, my GP women's health platform, and which, if you're interested in seeing me and you're based in the UK, then please click the link in the description box below or on TikTok in our bio, and you can get access to booking an appointment to do that. But let's go back to this question. So, pimples in clusters on the labia, and wondering about over-the-counter treatment, or if you need to see a doctor. So, I mean, I think it's a very good question, okay? And the answer to this depends. The answer to the treatment that you need actually depends on what is causing these pimples, this cluster of pimples. And I don't know what that is without looking. No person, no doctor, nobody who is practicing appropriately and ethically can tell you what it is without actually examining you first. So the first answer I would say, this is not something you should do a do-it-yourself approach, because there could be different possibilities, and I'm going to talk about them now. But straight off, I would say, please have a doctor to look at it, because you need to get the right diagnosis to get the right treatment. So, first thing is that it could be something called folliculitis. This is just where the hair follicles close to your labia around the mons pubis can get inflamed. So I don't know exactly how it's sited or positioned and so on. But just going by your description and just thinking widely about possibilities, which is why I said I don't give health advice here, because it's important that you see somebody who can examine you and then take it from there. I can't get rid of this co-host with creators thing that I opened on TikTok. Let me see if okay, it's gone now. Sorry. Hi, Cynthia. Okay. Yeah, so that's possible. It's an inflammation. It's a common cause of clusters of spots around the area. Could you be reacting to something? Is the next question. Is the next possibility? Could it be could it be spots, or could it be a rash because you're sensitive or reacting to something? Maybe wash powder, cream, deodorants, perfumes. I don't know. Again, it's something that needs to be seen or looked at before we can make that judgment. Could it be something like a herpes infection? Those also come as clusters, can be quite bubbly and like it come in cluster formation. So that means more than one in an area, but they're very, very painful. So again, you didn't mention whether it's painful or itchy and all the other bits and pieces that would be useful to assess this. So I don't know, but that will be when we're considering wide possibilities. I'll put that on the list as well. There's something called molluscum contagiosum, which is a benign condition, or like that shows up as a rash or lumps in particular. All over actually can occur all over the body, but it can also occur around the genital area and the vulva. Can happen as single spots, but you can also get clusters, and some of them can be very small, some of them can go a bit bigger. So those are possibilities when we're talking about something that looks like a pimple and is coming in clusters. There are a few things that it could be. I don't know which one it is in your case. My suggestion would be that you go and see your doctor. There is nothing I can recommend. I wouldn't anyway, but I would strongly advise, please don't just go and get anything over the counter to just try and manage it, because one, that you're using something that might not work in the first instance, so spending money that's not really going to do anything, and two, you're waiting for it to work, so you're therefore delaying the time that you'd have gone to see the doctor to get yourself the right treatment, and so it could just be getting worse in that time that you're waiting. So many, those are two good reasons why don't use anything over the counter. Please go straight, book an appointment to see your doctor. And then the other thing is, of course, anything that you buy over the counter that's not the right treatment. The labia tissue and skin is very, very sensitive. What if you start reacting to something and then make the whole thing worse? So don't get anything over the counter. Can you do anything for yourself? Yes. Okay. So, for example, make sure that you're wearing just generally loose or cotton underwear if possible, especially if it's something that's irritating you. If you usually wax or shave around the area, try and avoid doing that until your doctor's seen it so we can work out what's going on. We don't even know if it's the shaving or waxing that might be contributing to the situation. When you're washing, avoid fragrance soap. Again, we're talking about irritation and dermatitis. So if you can avoid fragrance soap and use fragrance-free soap on washes to use for bathing until you get yourself checked over. And if it's itchy, if it is something that is itchy or it's getting swollen or your labia are getting swollen, maybe a cool compress just with plain clean water, clean cloth, that might help from time to time just to keep you comfortable while you're waiting to get this checked over. So please go and see your GP or your primary care doctor or gynecologist so somebody can look and examine it. I know that this might be a bit uncomfortable, but we do this all the time. I honestly do not go around thinking of who I examined and their bits and their vulva. I don't. It doesn't even occur to me. We're there to look at how we can help, and really it's important that you don't allow upset or embarrassment to prevent you from going to get the treatment that you need. I think that brings us to the end of this mailbag and live Q&A. Thank you so much, guys, for all the questions that you put in, and keep them coming. Some of them I will answer straight on in the comments, or many of them I'll direct you to your GP, or I will direct you to come and book a consultation with me at yourgpconsultation.com, especially if you're based in the UK, because it will just take some time to go through the things. I might have to ask more questions. And again, like I said, YouTube or TikTok is not the place to give medical advice. So please be careful about what information that you pick up on these systems. But thank you so much to guys that sent in the questions. I loved reading them. I always enjoy your questions. Please keep them coming. And for everybody who's joined this live and who's joined in the chat, to people from actually nobody told me where they were. Oh no, somebody told me where they were watching from. There was somebody who said they were watching from India. I don't know if they're still here. Wasn't there? Yeah, I think so. Yes, from India. Oh, it was Ali. Ali said he was watching from India. Okay, but anyway, thanks to you guys who joined, and for everybody who's given it a like. If you haven't already and you're still here, please give the like as you leave. I would very much appreciate it. But thank you so much for spending a half hour with me this evening to go through the mailbag. I will hopefully come back again soon, sooner than later, with another episode. But in the meantime, stay well, check out the rest of the videos on the channel, and thank you so much for engaging with the community polls and quizzes. I enjoy doing them, and I think you guys enjoy doing them, responding to them as well. Let me know in the comment section, and I will see you again. Bye bye, guys. Thanks so much, TikTok. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Much appreciated. Take care. See you soon. Bye.